The Berlin Wall fell in 1989 as the result of a powerful combination of long-term political, economic, and social pressures that finally reached a breaking point in East Germany and across the Eastern Bloc. For decades, the wall had symbolized the Cold War division between the Communist East and the capitalist West, but by the late 1980s, the socialist system in East Germany was suffering from deep economic stagnation, shortages of basic goods, outdated industry, and a declining standard of living compared to West Germany, which East Germans could clearly see through Western television and personal connections. Public frustration grew as citizens realized that the promises of socialism, equality, security, and prosperity had not been fulfilled, while political repression by the ruling Socialist Unity Party, SED, silenced criticism and restricted travel. A major turning point came with the rise of Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, whose policies of glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, signaled that the Soviet Union would no longer use military force to prop up failing communist regimes in Eastern Europe, as it had in the past. This shift emboldened reform movements across the region, including in Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia, creating a domino effect that weakened East Germany's control. In 1989, Hungary's decision to open its border with Austria allowed thousands of East Germans to escape to the West, exposing the East German government's inability to stop the exodus and undermining its authority. At the same time, mass protests erupted inside East Germany, most notably the peaceful Monday demonstrations in Leipzig, where ordinary citizens demanded freedom of travel, free elections, and political reform, chanting "Wir sind das Volk," "We are the people." The regime hesitated to use force, fearing both international backlash and the lack of Soviet support, which further encouraged public resistance. Internal divisions within the East German leadership added to the chaos, as hardliners clashed with reformists over how to respond to the crisis. The immediate trigger for the wall's fall came on November 9, 1989, when an East German official, Gunter Schabowski, mistakenly announced at a press conference that new travel regulations allowing citizens to cross the border were effective immediately, without realizing that the procedures had not been finalized. Confused but hopeful crowds gathered at border crossings, and unprepared guards, lacking clear orders and unwilling to use violence, eventually opened the gates. As people streamed freely between East and West Berlin, celebrating atop the wall and tearing it down with their own hands, the moment marked not just the collapse of a physical barrier, but the failure of an entire political system that had lost legitimacy in the eyes of its people. The fall of the Berlin Wall was therefore not a sudden accident alone, but the inevitable result of years of economic decline, popular dissatisfaction, peaceful mass protest, weakened authoritarian control, and a transformed international environment that no longer supported repression, making 1989 a historic turning point that signaled the beginning of the end of the Cold War and paved the way for German reunification.